You even had the Atlantic Council. I wanted to share just what they had to say about how they want to reboot G7 sanctions on Russia. I'm not going to read the 7, but this
Jesus.
is
Yeah.
how they think in
This
NATO
is how they
stand.
think. Exactly.
You
Yeah.
see, sanctions and other forms of economic pressure alone are
No,
not
they
enough.
actually right. They can continue to weaken the Russian economy. These people must
And
be
it
deaf,
doesn't
dumb,
serve the
and blind.
war. And it doesn't serve the war. So they'll literally tell you this isn't helping Ukraine. It isn't helping NATO in their war aims, which is the big enchilada. That's what they want. They want a weaker Russia, but they really what they're saying is they're trying to starve Russia. So Pepe,
No, no,
Russia's
but
now the
I
fourth.
when you put it on screen, I read a few lines. This is so stupid that in fact we could debunk line by line here for hours.
Yes, you
How
could.
stupid it is. And obviously, because these absolute assholes were not in St. Petersburg, they could not see for themselves in numbers and discussing with people who were actually there, including Europeans that were there and a few Americans, how Russia turned the whole game around in 2 years, a little over 2 years. And not only they managed to turn around and inflict a blowback when they were struck by the largest, most vicious package of sanctions in the history of the galaxy, and now they are the fourth largest economy in the world by purchasing parity power,
Mhm.
PPP, recognized even grudgingly by the World Bank. So no, so when you read, but that's okay. Look, I know these Atlantic Council assholes. Some of them personally. These people cannot run a hot dog stand, and they pontificate on economies across Eurasia. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I'm gonna cut to a realist. I'm gonna cut to what Lavrov said a few minutes ago, Danny. In fact. United States and Israel are undermining international financial architecture, neo-colonial and unscrupulous methods manipulating the dollar basket. Participants of BRICS, okay, everybody that was there, including the people who were invited. There were ministers from Laos, from Vietnam, from other African countries, from Turkey. Very, very interesting as well. Everybody knows that the BRICS countries already serve as the locomotive of the world economy. Try telling this to the Atlantic Council assholes. Yeah? And following the results, the joint statement, key positions on key issues. So they converge on everything, including Palestinian statehood. Very, very important. Taking into consideration the China Brazil plan, which is, of course, leading towards Palestinian statehood. So no, this is a realist speaking, and this one from Lavrov is very, very good, Danny. Borrell's infamous saying that Europe is a garden surrounded by a jungle. So, I'm sure Eric Lee did not talk to Lavrov yet. And Blinken's statement that those who do not want to sit at the democratic table risk being on the menu served at that table. This is pure neocolonialism, and BRICS is against it. You all know that Lavrov is a gentleman. He's never blunt. So this proves that he and this is something that we already discussed even before St. Petersburg. They are fed up with this stupidity, and that means everybody in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which Sergei Ryabkov, which is the Russian BRICS Sherpa, the number one diplomat taking care of BRICS organization this year. They cannot stand it anymore. They tried everything to have a dialogue with the collective West, with the NATO stand sphere. That's it. That's it. And now they say, look, there are no avenues of dialogue anymore. That's it. So at least they can allow themselves to be blunt, the same way that on a military level, Dmitry Medvedev, unplugged as always, is already saying, okay, you want to throw your missiles against Russia? Okay, we're going to go after you big time. Get ready. So this is the new reality in Russian power circles. They know that there has been some sort of directive of launching Europe face to face towards a war on Russia. This is the inner meaning of F-16's authorization to launch missiles, all these circles, and they're ready, and this is also very, very interesting, Danny, because there was a discussion even during some of Putin's answers in the Q&A about symmetric response. So Putin more or less said that the responses are not going to be asymmetric. They will be symmetric. And that is being interpreted by Russian academics, analysts, and some corridors of power that Russia will start considering weaponizing some of their allies in different parts of the multi-nodal new world to basically help them to attack or counterattack against the empire of bases, the American empire of good. And there's even a list, Danny. So I'll give you the list of states, nations that could profit from receiving Russian weapons or upgrading what they have. West Asia, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Libya. Iran doesn't need it because they already have first-class weaponry, but Syria needs it badly. And Yemen, they could profit from getting more hardcore missiles. This could happen. Not to mention Iraq, Hashd al-Shabi, if they start getting the missiles that really count, they can simply get rid of those American bases remaining in Iraq. On Central, Northeast, and Southeast Asia, we have three possible candidates: Afghanistan, Myanmar, and North Korea. North Korea, of course, they don't need much. They already have everything. Afghanistan and Myanmar is another story. And very interesting. Guess who was very well represented in St. Petersburg? Both Afghanistan and Myanmar. When I went to the Eurasian Economic Union ASEAN session, Myanmar was there and with a large delegation on stage and in the audience. Afghanistan, this was absolutely extraordinary. I think I put this photo on my Twitter, X. It was a photo of the Taliban Minister of Labor discussing Eurasia integration with Russian academics and with Karin Neisel on the same table. This was something for the ages. And basically they said, look, we need your help. We want to integrate in the large Eurasia economy. And for that, we need your help. And the Russians basically are saying, you already have your help. You are here. We want to normalize you inside Eurasia. This has nothing to do with United Nations or the US, because they will never be allowed or allow the Taliban to be normalized. You will be normalized inside Eurasia. And considering that Afghanistan is an observer of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they can be part of the SCO sooner or later. Okay, coming back to Latin America, the last two regions. Latin America, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Oh, perfect. Don't forget who is arriving in Havana as we speak. The super well-equipped frigate Admiral Gorshov, which carries Onyx, Zircon, and Caliber missiles, and the Kazan, the submarine Kazan, which is a Yasen class submarine, which carries a lot of ultra powerful missiles. So this is the symmetric Russian response in action already. And obviously, these nut jobs who want to force Europe into a war against Russia or start having ideas that an escalation towards some sort of hot war or limited strike or whatever stupidity they come up with against Russia, they can get away with it. Obviously, they're still not paying attention. But the Russians, they are organizing their counter escalation methodically, carefully, and in dialogue with a lot of these nodes in the multinodal world. So this leads us to the possibility, Danny and all of you. It's something that I was writing before our conversation. For the moment, I'm titling it The Summer of Living Dangerously, because we have a possible window this summer for something really nasty to happen, which will probably would be a false flag that will later be attributed to Russia. It could be an Archduke Franz Ferdinand moment. It could be a Gulf of Tonkin moment, but it's very, very possible. And the Russians are making preparations for that, detailed preparations for all that. So this summer is going to be hot, incandescent, literally. But when you look at the contrast between everything that was being discussed in St. Petersburg, everything that was discussed these two days in Nizhny Novgorod with the BRICS foreign ministers, and then you compare to the G7, which is going to be Thursday and Friday in southern Italy, and then the NATO summit in July. It's all the framework. It's all there. It's betting on the future against the eternal forever wars over and over again. And this thing is going to get really dangerous, because if these mega clowns decide to impose sanctions on Chinese companies because they are doing business with the Russian military complex, the Chinese response for Europe is going to be an extra economic disaster that they cannot afford at the moment. And of course, sanctions against Russia 2.0. Okay, bring it on. Elvira Nabiulina, who never smiles, maybe even she has a smirk on her face. No problem. I know how to deal with that. I've been doing this for 2.5 years, every day. Just look at the state of the Russian economy. And then, of course, more warmongering in July at the NATO summit. So with all the military Schengen plans that they have. So, it's wow. It's
with the I would say now that if the United States and NATO keep on piling on these sanctions on Russia, the special military operation will end with Russia being the third largest economy in purchasing power parity. and who knows how fast the United States will fall. But in any event, I wanted to ask you too, based on what you just said about this multinodal, multipolar world developing, and how BRICS has been so much at the center. China also recently said, it was Wang Yi, I believe, who said that BRICS should be an institution that fights this new Cold War, a new Cold War that's emerging, that's here, led by the United States, which gets into what I wanted to ask you to describe, because a lot of times when people think about BRICS, they think strictly finance and currency. But if you even just go to the website of BRICS 2024 that Russia is hosting this time around, because it is the president of BRICS now, up until the end of October, when the meeting occurs, the big summit, you see that BRICS is much more than a currency and financial, that it is truly an institution that is becoming the vehicle or the vanguard of the multipolar world. So could you talk about overall, because when China says it needs to oppose a new Cold War, it needs to be a vehicle against that. That includes political development, military strategy. It includes also so much with regard to all the various layers of civil society and societal development as a whole. So could you talk about that maybe to close on this point on multipolarity?
Well, it's what I've been talking about for the past 2 years at least, practically every week. Many of us, in fact. You should see all the BRICS related sessions in St. Petersburg. It's very easy. All of you go to the St. Petersburg website. You go day by day. There's a list of all the sessions. I think most of them, if not all of them, but most of them, they have the broadcast of the session itself. You can see what each participant was saying. And there were BRICS related discussions on literally everything: health, cyberspace, tourism, education, not only geoeconomic and geopolitical, and of course philosophical as well. Many of these sessions, they had a philosophical substract, and that was guiding more or less the discussion. And the way, for instance, when Wang Yi and Lavrov, especially when they talk about BRICS, like the meeting that they had Monday and Tuesday in Nizhny Novgorod, and they had their bilateral as well. And of course, they were key into organizing the final joint statement. It's a philosophical thing. It has to do, once again, with proceeding in a harmonic way, respecting all the partners, making the partners, the BRICS 10, the extra 5, feel comfortable within the organization, and then carefully calculating how they're going to expand, because the list is mind-boggling. In fact, the list for BRICS is over 40. Of those 59 who want to join BRICS SCO and Eurasian Economic Union, more than 40 want to get into BRICS. Every week you have, for instance, Zimbabwe this week, officially, we want to be part of BRICS. I was talking to Vietnamese in St. Petersburg, same thing. Indonesia is on the top tier of candidates. In Indonesia, they are doing already a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union, and they want to be part of BRICS as well. So the whole thing is converging. And they are discussing several levels of partnership. And this is what's great. There's going to be, for all of you, in less than 2 weeks, there's going to be a summit in Kazan, which I plan to go, in fact, about municipalities, BRICS cities and municipalities. I'm very curious to see what will be discussed in this panel. I assume there are going to be representatives from different major BRICS cities around the BRICS 10, and even observers. So this is so we should be talking about urban planning. We should be talking about sustainable development in megalopolises. We should be talking about integration of nodes like the Chinese do, integrating megalopolises in one gigantic node like the Greater Bay Area in the south, which is Hong Kong, Zhuhai, Macau, in another 9 cities. So this is great. Discussing architecture, discussing urban architecture, urban planning, and all that. So it's a renovation of so many areas of expertise and knowledge simultaneously, and that's what makes BRICS a sort of umbrella for all that. You know, it's a multilateral organization. It's a project for a new system of international relations, and it's an umbrella to have all these discussions in parallel as well. So maybe this is the secret of this metaphor: harmonic world, polycentric world, multinodal world. That's it. All the nodes have to keep talking to each other all the time, and asking questions to each other all the time, and especially respecting the other all the time. So compare this to the Western-based system that we are all subjected to. I think it's more than obvious for everyone if you live in the global south.
Yeah, and it's very frightening to the hegemon, to the United States, and of course its Western vassals, to see this, because when we're talking about the global majority integrating in far more ways than just bilateral, multilateral trade. That means that the way of life that is imposed upon the global majority, the certain value systems that exist in the West, certain priorities, those start to also wither away the closer that the global majority becomes. So it's a very fascinating development that BRICS is taking on this role.
Thank you for tuning in to my latest video. I appreciate all of your support. This channel, however, needs your help. I am seeking to make this channel more sustainable in the long term and upgrade necessary equipment to ensure that this work continues onward and makes progress to give you all of the geopolitical analysis that you all deserve. For that reason, I'm asking you to become a member of my Patreon community at patreon.com/DannyDhaiphong. You can find that link in the video description or in the pinned comment below. For whatever amount you choose to give, just know you are supporting independent media that you can't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video.